So I'm not going to say what I just said because I think you heard it anyway. We've got time for a question and answer session. I'll take 3 questions. We'll do them in batches of 3. I think that's probably best rather than just one at a time. So anyone like to go first? Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, no. I think it's best to use the mic.
How do we talk to the Tory, like, you know, the nice people, but the people who've absorbed the Tory poison that you talked about, the morons and how do we? No, the ones who call us morons. No. You know what I mean.
Okay. Anyone else with a question? While I'm at the mic, isn't it, Jeff?
Julian, can you tell everybody in the room what your response is to the siren calls from the alleged left in the Green Party for progressive alliances? Thank you.
One more. Yeah.
As a member of the education system myself, as we all know, what do you think you could do to improve the schools that we have instead of just building new ones and sticking students in them?
Okay, so 3 questions. First question. Yeah, I think, look, there's no easy answers. I'd love to tell you there's an easy answer. I'd love to pull an Alistair Campbell out of my back pocket and say, well, you know, here's our grid. We'll announce all this on every day and that'll work. All that you can do is be persistent and be polite. You know, all you can do is just say to people, look, I know the press are telling you this, but this is what we're telling you. Here's the reality. Put the information out there. I'll be going to the hustings and putting the Labour case. There'll be leaflets landing in every house in the island which will put the Labour case. You know, we'll try and get in the local media, who, to be fair, are far more balanced to the national media and far more willing to actually to give us a fair crack. And I think it's the old water dripping onto stone thing. You just have to keep working away. And we also need to be realistic. You know, our fortunes here on the island are without question linked to the national debate and the way that the parties go nationally. So we be polite, we're persistent, and yeah, I prefer to think of them as misled rather than bad people. I don't think they are bad people. Well, I'm obviously Andrew Turner, but you know. No, I'm not going there. Jeff. Look, here's one thing I've learned from Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn has had bucket loads of sewage chucked on his head for 2 years. He's had the most abuse of any politician I've ever known in my entire life since I became politically aware. If I had had a fraction of what has been thrown at Jeremy Corbyn, I would be a quivering wreck and unable to leave my front door. The fact that he continues to just stand up, take that, and never give any abuse back, I just think is admirable. So I'm going to make I'll make a pledge now for this election campaign, which is this. You know, if someone says something really, really unpleasant, like our ex-MP did, then of course I'm going to have a go. He was a bigot, and he said something bigoted, and that needs to be challenged. But I'm not going after the individuals in this campaign. I don't care really about Seeley's background. I don't care about the background of the people in the other parties. I'm going to talk to them about policies. I'm going to talk to them about why they should vote Labour. I am not going to attack them. And I think, you know, there was a time when that wouldn't have been me. There was a time when I would have thrown a few punches. But I'm going to take a lead from Jezza, because if he can do it, I can. All right. So. Second question was not the schools one, that was the last question. Oh, Progressive Alliance. Actually, tell you what, can I do the schools, then come to the Progressive Alliance? Schools. I can bore on for a very long time about education because I was a teacher and I had 10 years in the Department for Education before I became a teacher, so there is literally nothing about education that I can't drone on about. For me, what's actually happened with mass academisation is the privatisation by stealth of our education system. there are an awful lot of people who've been saying for a long time, oh, structures don't matter. Structures don't really matter. It doesn't matter who actually runs this. But despite saying structures don't matter, have invested a huge amount of political and financial capital in transferring schools out of the state sector into private companies. I think structures do matter. Because I think, for example, if Sandown Bay was still run by the local community, still given local community oversight, still accountable to local parents, it wouldn't be being shut down. Because there'd be an awful lot of councillors who'd have to defend that position to the voters. I think local democracy does matter. I think our public services do benefit from being accountable to people through the democratic system. So what would I do to improve schools? Well, the first thing I'd do is I'd give them back to the communities who should own the schools. And the second thing I'd do, quite simply, and this goes back to being a teacher, is I'd resource them properly. It's not rocket science. There are limits to what you can do. Teachers aren't miracle workers. You can't take in someone who doesn't want to work, doesn't want to do any effort, doesn't want to put any effort in, and perhaps isn't blessed with the greatest of intellect at that age. The teacher can't turn that person into Einstein. But it doesn't half help if you've got smaller classes, you've got all the textbooks that you need, you've got the time that you've got, and you've got the outside class support that manages the sort of behaviour which can then arise as a result of people who perhaps come to school less dedicated than others. So it's not that hard. We give them back to the people, and we fund them properly. I think anything else is messing around. Progressive Alliance. Knew someone was going to ask me about this. I got asked about this again after the local elections. Guy from the Huffington Post rang up and said, I see the pressure's on again for a Progressive Alliance. What's your response? And I said, Ned, do you know your history? Because you should never debate with a history teacher. And he said, no. I said, well, look up General McAuliffe's response to the German request for surrender at Bastogne during the Battle of the Bulge. Anyone in here know what that was? Nuts. Now look, I like Greens. I like green people. I like green activists. I actually like a lot of green policies. I mean, not all of them, but I really don't see there's much objectionable in there. I think they're good people. I think they've got their hearts in the right place. I just think their votes aren't. There is, as Jeff said, absolutely rightly, and I'm with Jeff, I'm a fan of proportional representation. I want that to be in the Labour manifesto, and I believe, one of the things that I feel most upset about when we were last in power for 13 years is that we didn't use those 13 years to change the voting system, and I think we should have done, and I think that was a failure of the Labour government. But we don't have proportional representation yet. There is no road to any progressive development in this country which does not currently run through the Labour Party. We are the only party that can form an alternative government. We are the only party that will ever deliver proportional representation. And what I really want, when people talk to me about progressive alliances, I want Caroline Lucas to lead her entire party, activists, voters, supporters, into Labour, to join the Labour Party, fight the next election with us instead of against us, uniting the left in the way that the Tories have unfortunately managed to do with UKIP. And then once we've actually taken office, we can push through PR, and if those people still feel that they want to go their own separate way and run on a particular angle, then they can do so. But that will take a sacrifice. It will take a sacrifice in the short term, and I think, to say now, well, we've got this election that no one was expecting, let's quickly try and stitch something up between the different parties. I'm afraid it's not going to work. I mean, I said in an interview in the county press, our voters, they're not sheep. You can't just say to them, go and vote in that pen. They won't do it. Some of them will get really angry about that, because ultimately this is a democracy, and as long as that choice is on the table, you have to let people make it. And if you ever find yourself arguing against democracy, you're always on the wrong side of the argument. So I'm afraid, for the Progressive Alliance, it's like, no, not, sorry. Anyway, next questions.
do one more round of question, one more round of three. I'll come back to you in a second.
One of the biggest problems I see for the general public is the lack of unity in the Parliamentary Labour Party. Can you give us any news as to what the approach is going to be in this coming election?
As to what's going to be?
As to what is to be done about showing to the public that there is unity in the Parliamentary Labour Party.
There's another question here.
What is your response to the so-called conservative Christians, because there's a lot of them on the island, and Andrew Turner is not an isolated case, who use their religion to defend their bigotry, and also see that a vote for Labour is an un-Christian act, and that if you are of that kind of religious persuasion, you voting for Labour is voting for the devil.
Okay.
I've got one more.
Okay. I am the devil.
Julian, how can we get your message that you've just given us across over the next month? Because I can't help feeling that if enough people could hear a version of the speech that you have just given us, we could have an effect, particularly on those people who are not going to would otherwise not vote at all. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. 3 good questions. I'm actually going to take this one first because, to be honest, that's the easiest answer. What I'd say to those people is pull your heads out your backsides. There is no excuse at all for bigotry. Just because you decide that whatever religious code you fancy following gives you an excuse for bigotry doesn't make you right. You're still a bigot. I'm on this, and you'll forgive me for using the small L word. I'm a fairly muscular liberal. Bigotry is bad. I don't care where it comes from. I don't care what justification people try and put on it. It's bad. It's wrong. Just if they think that voting for Labour is, to be honest, if they think that voting for Labour is voting for the devil, they're probably too stupid to vote. Yeah. Do you know what? Someone put this on the internal Labour Party website the other day, and it was Jim over there, and a great long debate ensued about whether Jesus was a socialist or not. I'm going to be quite clear. I'm not going there. So the answer is, look, I've got no truck with them at all. You won't find me saying, oh, well, I understand your position. I don't. It's rubbish. Okay, next question up there, which was about what can we do about unity. I take a fairly straightforward view on this, which is no political party can represent all of my views. There are things within the Labour manifesto which aren't what I would like, or there will be. There are party policies which I don't particularly agree with. But how, and forgive me, Katie, for saying this, how teenage would you have to be? That's my daughter, who is teenage. How teenage would you have to be to believe that a political party should have exactly the same views as you on every single issue? And what I don't like about this, it is a small group. It's massively amplified and magnified by the media, but there is a small group of people within the Labour Party who, nothing happens without them jumping to the nearest phone, ringing up a reporter and saying, oh, look, we're all condemning Corbyn for this, or we're condemning Labour for this. Look, if they hate that much of the policy, then leave. If you don't like certain bits, but you do like lots of other bits, then what you try and do is you try and sell the package. I'll tell you which bits. At the moment, the Labour Party policy is to keep Trident. I don't agree with that. Personally, I would get rid of Trident. But that's the Labour Party's policy at the moment, and until that is changed, I will sell that policy because that is the democratic decision of the party. And if I felt so strongly that I couldn't support that, then I wouldn't be here standing as a candidate for the Labour Party. And so you make compromises because we have to. Some people seem to be unwilling to make compromises, and I do think those people really do need to look at their consciences and decide whether they should stay in this party or not. I hope they do. I hope they can come to terms with that. I hope they... Because, look, you know when I was listing all those policies earlier, was there anyone in this room who was listening to those thinking, oh, God, no. I don't fancy funding the health service properly. Holidays? Who needs holidays? I mean, I don't see anybody from left or right of the party that objects to that. So I worry that people have dug themselves into trenches and they're now so busy throwing bombs at each other that they've forgotten that actually they're on the same side. Look, I'm not naive and I'm not stupid, and I know that whatever comes after this election, there's probably going to be another bust-up, okay? But I will support the leader of the party as long as I support the party's policies. And if the leader of the party is Jeremy Corbyn, I will support him and I will promote him. And if the leader of the party is someone else afterwards, I will support him or her, and I will support him or her. And that's pretty much all I can say, really. Sorry. Which brings me to the last question. Thank you very much for that, Diana. How can we get the message out? We can't outspend the Tories on this island. Bob Seeley himself has got more money than the entire Labour Party. We're unlikely to be outspending the Greens because they've made this a real serious target seat and they are going to throw resources at it. The only advantage we've got, which other parties don't have, is we've got people. We've got more members than any other party on this island. In fact, there's a sneaking suspicion that we've got more members than all the other parties put together. The only chance we've got, and this is what I want to appeal to in this election, is the British love an underdog. They love people who just say, do you know what, sod it, I'm Iceland in the European Championships. Yeah, I've got everybody from the local shop playing in me back four, but I'm still going to win. Well, you know, we're like that. We've got members. And what I want those members to do, and no one is allowed to leave this room tonight without taking at least one poster, is I want you going back and I want you putting those posters up. And I want you to put them up in the windows. I want you to put them up in the back of your cars. Don't obstruct your rearview mirror. I want you to go out and I want you to say to people, I'm proud of this. You know, I know people are telling me that I'm mad for doing this. I know people are telling me I'm a loser, but I'm proud to be like this because once an awful lot of those start popping up in places, you're going to find that other people will be like, yeah, actually, I quite like those policies as well. I mean, I know I'm supposed to say, oh, Corbyn, you know. I mean, I like the NHS and you know, I like schools, but I'm quite happy to have those all destroyed because, you know, Corbyn's a vegetarian. I think, you know, we need to show people. We need to show people. Actually, Brianna's got a head in her hands, and this is my youngest daughter. She's literally doing this. Sorry, B, it's nearly done. We need to show people that there's lots of us, that they're not alone in thinking, actually, I quite like what Corbyn's selling. I quite like what the Labour Party wants. Obviously, we'll do our bit, Diane, with the local media. We'll do the hustings. We'll do whatever we can to get the message to a broader audience. But really, you know, we're relying on us. We're a movement. And the only way we're going to get this message out is through the movement. And that movement is you. So, yeah, take a poster and then make sure you put it up.
One of the great joys of this facilitating role is you'll never get it right. There are those who say you let debate run on too long and lost the impetus, or if you shut it down quickly, people say, you stifled debate.